Hey folks, Steve here with another Dark Valley video. Today we're going to be looking at turn 35, and I'll point out, yes, this is going to be the only video of the week. I did not get a chance to do a video yesterday like I normally would have liked to have. Things just got too busy and I couldn't get the time away. We're going to try to get through turn 35, and hopefully that will we'll be able to get through it, and then we'll do turn 36 in the next coming week. I may be able to get back to the normal 2 video a week schedule, but I've got a lot of other sort of extra things going on over the next few weeks that may make that more difficult. So I know some folks are patient. Thank you for your patience. We'll get through it here. I mean, we really only got now, gosh, I mean, it's only 10 turns left to go, right? So we're in the final 10 turns of the game, and we'll get through it as best we can. Last video, in terms of what we did in turn 34, we're making some gains here. We're forcing the Axis to react, and the Axis is certainly on the back foot. There's no change in that, and I don't see a case where we're going to slip into what we did in the previous set of videos here, where we had sort of an iron Axis defense that could just pull back and was very strong. Here, the damage has already been done from the historical perspective, and so the Axis forces are really just falling back. And now we're kind of almost to the point where the supply depots don't matter as much. The ones in the north do, the ones in the south won't, because units in those areas are going to be tracing to German rail hexes that go back to the west side of the map in Germany, which is the ultimate supply source area. So we're going to see how that goes. Down here in Romania, we're very close to triggering the conditions upon which Romania will switch sides, and that will cause a whole bunch of problems for the Axis here in the south. They'll have supply issues, and really you'll have this whole gap here that will need to be addressed somehow. What the Axis can do to defend those mountains will be important, but at this point there's really not a whole lot of forces even available to do it with. So that's going to be the real key thing here, as the Axis just loses their capability to defend everywhere, like they've sort of been able to for quite a while. So I will start taking care of the beginning portions of the turn here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do reinforcements and replacements. This turn, there's really not much in the way of reinforcements. So there's this little guy here for the Axis, not much to get excited about. And then I believe we have some withdrawals here. Let me just double check that. Almost certain there are some withdrawals. Let's see. No, we do not have withdrawals. Okay. So there we go. We'll get some Axis reinforcements, and then the Soviets are going to get a whole bunch, as usual, in terms of replacements. The Axis will get some replacements. I'll set all that stuff up. We'll move the air bases around as needed here, and then I'll come back on camera when we are going to do the action phase. I'll take care of strategic movement as well. As a preview, I'm probably going to try to get some guys railed out of here, because so far forward they're not going to do much good. I need to rail them somewhere down here maybe, and start, trying to hold the mountain passes into Hungary. I think that's something I need to try to do. The more forces that I get there, the better. At least that's my thinking, because it's going to be tough terrain going there for a little while until we can bust through into the lowlands and get to Budapest, Buda and Pest, respectively. So, okay, that's enough intro. We'll put a cut here. I'll take care of all those reinforcements, replacements, and strategic movement, and we'll take a look at the action phase. Okay, here we are after the reinforcements and strategic movement and all that good stuff. Got some units down here to try to hold some of these areas, even when Romania switches sides. The reason for that is, again, I need to make sure I hold some of these mountain passes into Hungary if I can. That's going to be really important to hold as I go here. And pretty much everything else is just trying to account for the breaks in the line that have occurred. Now we are going to look at the activation chits. I did want to point out that I realized I left this HQ by itself in a hex, which means it was susceptible to an airborne core attack, but it is clear weather right now, and so I cannot do an airborne core attack. So I just got to remember for my own sake to keep the HQs stacked with another unit so that they're protected, but we'll have to watch out for that. I'm okay this turn as the Axis, but in a few turns that will matter again. For the action chit recipe, I should have shown this last turn. I don't think I did. Technically, the Axis still has modal, and he's basically used one more time and he's done. And I think I want to keep him. I haven't used him yet. I'm keeping him in reserve to try to react to a particularly bad breakthrough. At least that's my idea. Is like, hey, you know, if the situation's really bad, I can toss him in and try to salvage it if I think it's going to be, you know, the big breakthrough that's going to tear apart the Axis game situation. So that's what we're going to try to do. Now, otherwise, we have Stavka. I guess I should show pretty quickly. With some of our replacement points, I did build a few of the eliminated tank units with the idea that they can be a reaction force out of a reclaimed reinforcement city for the Soviets. So they're sort of positioned there. I'm not sure how useful they will be. And then otherwise, it's the same chits from last turn. So the Axis has move, they have combat, and they have the 4th Panzer, or a Panzer. I'm picking the 4th, again, to help around Lvov. And then for the Soviets, they have deep battle, and then their 2 or chits, movement or combat. Now, I think in this case, you know, it's like, oh, do I do deep battle? Do I do movement? I think in this case, and this is, you know, I'm back to my routine here of I need to use movement to catch up, move my guys forward in the line to get them where they need to be for the combats to come, because down over here, I need to get these guys moving forward. I need to get my HQs repositioned a little bit. I need to get, you know, situated over here. I need to penetrate through the marshes to get up here. And I just need to kind of get things situated better up here. Less so up here because we didn't do as much. But I think, again, movement as the first action here would be useful, if only to get us in position for the next chits. The rest of it will then be, you know, cup-based draws, but I think that'll work. So I'm going to take myself off camera here. I'm going to conduct the Soviet movement phase with their movement activation, and then we'll come back and start pulling from the cup. Okay, here we are after movement. Now, you'll see, because of a lack of Zocs, and that I had properly prepared some tank armies, I was able to snake around a lot of the Axis line here in Romania, taking our second town here in Galatz, and basically encircling these guys, isolating that guy. Well, they're both isolated here and here. These guys are okay, but there's not much to worry about there, I guess, is how I would look at it, because this whole front is just totally collapsing. Now, I moved up across here. I didn't extend into some of these hexes just due to worries on combat factors being attacked there. I don't really need to push right here yet, so I'm not going to endanger the Soviet units. I realized there were a couple of units that I could have replenished but did not. I used those points elsewhere as the Soviets, so I kind of goofed a little here, but not too bad. But I've got all of my artillery here ready to be firing when combat comes up. in the Pripyat marshes. I'm moving forward. You know, these guys sort of holding a steady swamp line. And you can see I've got a bunch of cavalry, really all the Russian cavalry, kind of surging through, sort of protected and flanked by Zoks of these Soviet army units here, approaching Minsk. Now, Minsk is protected right now by some armor, but the whole thing here is we're going to encircle Minsk on our next movement, basically, when we can move, I guess is the way to look at it. But yeah, so we're threatening the whole northern line here, because if we cut Minsk, if we take Minsk, that's going to enable us to then surge for Vilnius, and then Kaunas, then Memel, and basically we'll, have, if we were shooting this way, which wouldn't be too terribly difficult to do once we dislodge a few units, then we're just straight up cutting off a lot of the Axis army, and we're going to be playing all we like in Germany. So that's the idea anyway, really putting a lot of pressure on the Axis to react. Their rail capacity is minimal at this point, and so there's not much they can, they can't send guys out here super fast. They just got to start pulling back, and maybe by the time they've managed to pull back, it'll be too late. I'm not sure. So I think that was a good move. I've also started to reposition my HQs, so Zhukov is here, a little out of place, but he's doing what he needs to do. He's going to come over here, and he's still in range to activate this line. Stavka is, and Stavka will eventually work its way up north to help that as needed. But depending on how all this goes over here, I mean, we could very well just end up in a situation where I keep them both around here, and we're just going like that with all the units. That might end up just being the best option. So movement is complete. Pretty good, I'd say. No reason to use Stavka yet. No reason to use Modal. I think Stavka will be important. If we can take Lvov, then we'll springboard out of there maybe and head towards Krakow, or start to cut off some of these other units. We'll have to see how it comes. So we're going to go to the cup, and we're going to pull the next chit. If it's logistics, that'd be really fun. It's not. It's the 4th Panzer, this is actually the worst time for 4th Panzer to come up, because there's not much for the 4th Panzer to do other than maybe try to attack the Soviets, but I don't think there's enough combat factors that really makes sense to do. So this is really bad luck, I think, for the Germans. They just don't have much to do. That chit was there to sort of be a reaction force, or a reaction activation to keep things in good order. We're sort of losing our opportunity for that, but I will double check the line here and see if there's anything we want to do. If there isn't, then we'll come back, but maybe I can figure out something with the Axis to be beneficial here. Okay, in looking at the 4th Panzer activation, I'm not going to do anything. I debated attacking, but the odds would be 1-to-1, and the reality would be it would just either be an AL1 or a BL1, which, I mean, having the Soviets take a step loss might slow them down here a little bit, but a step loss for the Axis is a lot worse than a step loss for the Soviets, so I don't think it's worth attacking. And I don't think we wanted to move anybody, because we want to make the Soviets pay for taking Lvov if they take it. So I think this was, like I said, just bad luck for the Axis. The chit came up. They're not going to be able to make much use of it. We're going to go back to the cup, and we'll see what we get. And we get Axis combat. Well, here's another. This is another thing that's probably not great, because what will they be able to do what will the Axis be able to do with combat that will stop what's coming? Again, this might have been better later in the turn, after maybe the Soviets have exposed themselves and allowed for some counterattacks or some attacks on weakened units. I'll have to take myself off camera and check the line and see what's feasible, but I suspect we're not going to have a whole lot that we're going to be able to do here. Yeah, I don't see it. I just don't see it. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll be back and we'll see what combats maybe have occurred. Okay, well, with Axis combats, I actually attempted a couple, amusingly enough, but the reality was that they were somewhat safe attacks up here, but I rolled kind of poorly. I did bleed off some Soviet air defense, which is useful, or air power, so they will have less on the attack, but we ended up losing Axis step, so overall it was kind of bad moves, honestly. And there was a possible attack down here, but right now, if I tried it, the Soviets could simply dump the rest of their air in, and it would just be bad news. So I'm going to hope that the Axis movement comes up, and then maybe I can save some of these guys. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's worth trying. Maybe it's worth trying, because it's attacking these guys here, right? So it would be... oh, no, I did attack, and they took a step loss. I'm sorry, my brain fart. They had already attacked down here, and it ended up in AL1. My bad. So pretty much everywhere we tried to do something as the Axis on attacking, it didn't work. Now, down here, again, kind of safe, because these guys are going to get eliminated anyway. They can take a step loss. They're going to be eliminated eventually anyway. So doesn't matter a whole lot. We tried to make a breakthrough to save them, and it's just not working. So we're going to go to the Cup. The only thing left that the Axis really has is movement. So unless there's some other thing that they can do, at best they could do maybe an emergency withdrawal with some guys and try to pull back. Modal won't really help here. I kind of want to save Modal for the inevitable Lvov breakthrough to try to salvage that, because that's really more important. We've got time to delay around Hungary as the Axis. So we're going to go to the Cup. Really, it's mostly Soviet chits at this point, and we'll see what we get. And we got Axis movement. All right, well, that's funny. So the Axis basically has gotten to use all of their activity markers before the Soviets can really do a whole lot. Now, I think now's a time we probably need to just pull back, I think, as the Axis, along the entire front if possible, and pull some of these guys back out of the way and try to create a better defensive line. I guess this is kind of good luck for the Axis, bad luck for 4th Panzer, but good luck that we got movement before any Soviet combat could really come into play. We can try to salvage what we've got. I mean, either way, this is just fine for the Soviets, because they can recuperate some of their units. They can get things in better position. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. All right, so I'm going to have to take care of Axis movement. There's going to be a lot of movement as we try to get these guys situated in better positions to salvage what's going on. But when we come back, we'll see what things look like, and we'll get through the rest of the Soviet chits. Okay, here we are after Axis movements. We've pulled back from even the north. I just need to pull these guys down and shorten the line. Sort of pull these guys back a little bit. I can't move too fast. Unfortunately, I just have to try to maintain the line a little bit and delay, but we're starting to pull back. We've abandoned, what is that, Vitebsk? I think that's Vitebsk. And we gave up that victory city. There's not much we can do to hold it, so I'm not going to bother. I just pull the units back, sort of covering the gap here, slowing down the Soviet advance, so that emergency situation is resolving itself a little bit. Still got some gaps out here to worry about. Pulled back. I don't want to pull back from Lvov yet. That's a great jumping off point for the Soviets, so I'm going to try to make them fight for it. And then down below, just starting to pull back a little bit more. And I could not pull back a whole lot down here, and the one unit stack of units could not. These guys can't get out. basically. I mean, even if they did emergency withdrawal, they would still be adjacent to a Soviet unit, so they can't emergency withdrawal like this stack of units could, and so they're gonna be trapped at this point. They are almost certainly gone. So the Soviets can kind of move around them. They'll go poof in the attrition phase, and that'll be it. So we'll have definitely wreaked some havoc there with those guys. So we're going to go now to the Chit Cup and see what happens here, because I think, man, the Soviets are going to be frustrated here, because this was going to be a great opportunity to put some hurt on, and they can still do that, just not to the degree that we thought they might. So we'll pull the Chit. Maybe it was a mistake holding on to Lvov. If I pulled those guys back, that might save him. I don't know. Okay, what did we get? We got logistics. All right, well, this will be pretty straightforward, and I'll just make it really easy. I'm pretty confident these guys all over here are isolated down here, so just all isolated. Everybody else, I'm pretty confident, is in supply. As I'm looking around, yeah, I think everybody else is in supply. So logistics, that was easy, that was quick. No use worrying about that. And we'll move on now. And we've picked up regular combat for the Soviets. So obviously we're only going to really be able to do combat where there are still units adjacent. We're not going to do combat here because they've been marked isolated. They're just going to go poof. So there's no reason to do anything there, no endangering of our units. We'll obviously take some activity over here, and we'll see where else along the line we still have contact, and we'll see what we can make use of there. And we still also have the potential for the deep battle coming. Probably won't be as significant as it could have been, but we'll make use of it as best we can. So we will be right back after the Soviet combats are complete. Okay, with Soviet combat, we really only did the one combat. We had fired our artillery. We tried to assault Lvov, and we got a BL-1, which actually was a great, had I rolled one less, I guess, that would have been better and get them a retreat to get them out of there, but I don't know. So not as great as we would have wanted. We're going to go and pull the very last chit, and it is going to be deep battle. So we're going to figure out the deep battle piece of this now. The reality is going to probably be that we don't get too much farther along here, but we'll have to see. I think I need to modify my loss that I took over here. Yeah. Yeah, and then we've got Stavka. So I think I've got to decide: do I want to take? Try to assault Lvov? If I take it, then I might be able to springboard some units into Lvov, but I don't know that it's going to work out that way. So I'm going to take myself off camera just to show, we didn't get as far as we would have wanted, and we'll figure out what happens on deep battle. So we'll be right back. Okay, well, here we are after the battle and move. So we managed to take Lvov. We forced a retreat, and we forced some units back. I advanced just an army in to take the city. And now I believe I can use Stavka to pop units down. And what we're going to do is we're going to attack that HQ and force it to be kicked out to the 37th turn, which would be a major issue. Now, this was a moment where it's like, okay, would I use modal? And I was really torn, so I rolled a die, 50% chance to use modal here to try to fix the situation, and I rolled under what I thought, so modal is not being used here, and we have the potential to really hurt the Axis ability to respond down here by knocking out the HQ, because there's really only so much HQ activity around at the moment, and this is going to hurt them. So what we're going to do now is, before the end of the turn, we're going to play Stavka, and we're going to plunk So we got Stavka. These tank corps are going to come into Krakow. They're still in range of Stavka, which was moved slightly north, and they're going to attack the HQ there. Now, I don't know if the Axis would be able to use their assault guns here. I'll say maybe they could. So it'd be 11 to 5. It's 2-to-1 odds, I guess. I'm not sure how to look at that. If an HQ by itself can use the assault marker. I don't see anything that says they can't. So yeah, we're gonna roll this on 2-to-1, I guess. Well, that seems odd, doesn't it? 2-to-1 odds. Well, it's worth a shot. Okay, I rolled a 6. So we're gonna. Okay, 2-to-1 on 6. That's BL1. Man, okay, that was probably stupid of me to roll this, but so the HQ is actually eliminated. It goes on the turn track to turn 37. We have to lose a unit. I think we'll lose the regular. Let's see, where's the camera at? So you guys can see. There we go. We're going to lose that guy. Now, do we advance after combat? I don't know that we want to do that because we're going to have 5, 11, 18. No, we're not going to advance after combat. That was good enough. Okay, so we just knocked out an HQ on their retreat out of Lvov. They left their HQ exposed in the retreat, and our tank corps came and disrupted the HQ, so they're out for a little while. So that was pretty good. Again, I don't think the chits came out in a way that would have really helped the Soviets. They would have liked to gotten some combat early so they could have cut off more units, but I think the rest of that went okay, and the Axis, I think, are down to 20 VP. I can always recount that, but I think that's where we're at. Okay, and we'll do the attrition phase. So just, the Axis depots are going to do some movement here. I'll do that off camera. But just to take care of the attrition segment, these guys are gone. So what did the Axis lose here? They lost 2 steps, 4 steps of Romanian units. In fact, that's the last Romanian set of units, including, that's actually 5 Romanian steps, and a infantry corps and a grenadier division, all eliminated in that pocket there. And that's all she wrote there. Now we are going to have to look at the Romanian switch sides. So let's see, are there 20 or more Soviet non-artillery steps in Romania? Yes, I counted that off camera. Soviet controls 2 towns or cities in Romania. Yes, we own Galatz and Roman, I don't know how you say that. And the Soviets control both Odessa and Sevastopol. Yes, that is true. Remove all Axis Romanian units. Well, they're all dead. All German units in Romania are immediately adjudged out of supply. So we'll get some out of supply markers. Now I realize I maybe made a mistake by moving some units out of Hungary down here to hold these cities. So out of supply, out of supply, out of supply, out of supply. I need a few more of these. Out of supply, out of supply, out of supply. There we go. So all those guys are out of supply for the time being. Romanian VP hexes immediately become Soviet-controlled unless occupied by an Axis unit, so that remains the case there. That's fine. And there's Soviet-Romanian armies enter next turn, and then the Bulgarian reinforcement enters on the following turn after that. So if I go and find, how many units is that? Well, let's see, we've got the Bulgarian unit's a 2-step non-replaceable. He's going to go on the turn track in turn 37. And then we're getting 2 non-replaceable 2-step Romanian armies here. They're going to go as reinforcements for next turn. And, gosh, at some point, we're going to have some Polish units here soon, but we are still pretty far from Warsaw, so those guys won't come into play yet. Okay, so I'm going to take care, like I said, I'm going to take care of the the German depot markers. Now, they don't matter as much for supply now that we're starting to head into Axis territory before the 41 line, at least in the south. In the north, they still matter. Well, the one thing is they will matter for placing reinforcements and new units. They can go into cities, Axis cities, but some of these depots are going to be located slightly in better spaces, so we'll look at that. So let me pull out again and just show Romania is collapsing. The line through the Carpathians holding the line now behind Lvov is still relatively stable in order to protect Germany and Poland. And elsewhere, the Axis is trying to pull back to maintain a staunch defense. If they can save themselves from being encircled or cut off, that would be a major coup for the Germans. I think historically they failed to do that, and you had a bunch of guys that were up here at year end, or at war end, I should say. So, okay, that's it for turn 35. Romania has fallen and is joining the Soviet side. We'll see what happens next time in turn 36. Until next time, guys, take care and keep on gaming.